Of power to the streets of Port Harcourt, every opinion counts. On Rapid Standpoint, we dig deep into the issues shaping politics, society, and the economy. Join experts and social commentators as we debate, dissect, and deliver fresh perspectives. Then it's your turn. Call in and make your voice heard.
Hello, the point I'm trying to make.
Rapid Standpoint.
Every weekday, 9 to 10 a.m.
Only on Rapid 90.7 FM. The sound of your city. Rapid Standpoint, only on Rapid 90.7 FM, the sound of your city.
Good morning and welcome to Standpoint. I'm Daddy Notch, right here on Rapid 90.7 FM. And today we are going to go straight into Ogoni territory. The Ogoni story is one of the most consequential in modern Nigerian history. In 1993, the movement for the survival of the Ogoni people, MOSOP, led a mass mobilization that drove Shell Petroleum Development Company out of Ogoni land. The Nigerian government's response was brutal. The protest was met with military occupation, and in 1995, 9 activists, including the writer and environmentalist Ken Saro-Wiwa, were hanged by the Abacha regime in what the world condemned as judicial murder. More than 30 years later, that oil has never flowed again. And now, for the first time in a long time, there is a real and serious conversation about resuming it. The Tinubu administration has launched what it called the Ogoni Dialogue Process, coordinated by the Office of the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu. Earlier this year, Ribadu led a presidential delegation to visit Governor Fubara and then toured dormant oil fields in Ogoni land, including the site of the recent oil spill in Pean community. The federal government has dangled figures. Some estimates suggest Ogoni oil could yield up to 500,000 barrels per day. That is over $30 million every single day in revenue. MOSOP itself, under its president, Fegalo Nsuke, who is our guest this morning, has said the dialogue deserves to be given a chance, describing the current approach as more people-centered than previous attempts. But MOSOP has also drawn red lines. At the Ogoni National Congress held in June 13th, the Congress resolved that there can be no oil resumption without addressing political exclusion, specifically that if there is no River State governor of Ogoni extraction, there will be no oil resumption. But there is the trust deficit as well. One faction of MOSOP has accused the federal government of already breaking faith, pointing to the Federal University of Environmental Technology established as a confidence-building measure which commenced operations in September 2025 and has received zero operational funding from the federal government as of May 2026. So there is a lot to unpack when it comes to the Ogoni matter. So the question this morning is the one that every Ogoni person, every Niger Delta community, and every Nigerian with a conscience has to grapple with. Can the government be trusted to fully implement any agreement reached on Ogoni oil resumption? Joining us this morning is the president of the Movement for the Survival of the Ogoni People, Fegalo Nsuke. Welcome to Standpoint this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Good morning, everybody.
Okay, very good to have you on the show this morning. So, Mr. Nsuke, MOSOP has publicly backed the NSA-led Ogoni Dialogue Committee, calling it a departure from previous approaches. So, what specifically about this current process made MOSOP decide it was worth engaging when 30 years of previous government promises have largely come to nothing?
Yes, the government has prior to this time made some initiatives to resolve this Ogoni problem. But the approach had been government imposing its will on the people. One of the biggest trouble is that the government had always tried to enter Ogoni to drill oil without considering the demands of the Ogoni people, without considering how the Ogoni people feel about what has happened in the past, prior to that time, especially from 1993. And so what I'll say is the departure at this time from what we've had before is that at this time the government is meeting the Ogoni people to say, what do you want? And it now formed a dialogue committee. And that dialogue committee is basically the composition is just fully Ogoni people. So essentially what that committee is doing is to collate the views of Ogoni people, looking at our demands, our primary demand, which is contained in the document called the Ogoni Bill of Rights, and then listening to the people, collating all of the how the people feel, collating the inputs from the people, and then looking at that vis-a-vis the Ogoni Bill of Rights, and then that committee was able to put these inputs together and then present it to the government. So the beautiful thing about this current initiative is that the government is telling Ogoni people, tell us what you want. Ogoni people have done that. So I want to say is a major departure from what we've had before, where the government will simply say, allow Shell to drill oil, and nothing comes, nothing else. And even when we have to suggest some confidence building measures, the government never implemented them. But this time around, the confidence building measures are good, but that's not the primary thing. The confidence building measures is for government to show that yes, they are serious about it. You know, it's like a child is crying for not eating for 3 days, and you go to the child and say, come and go to school without food. So confidence building measures is like, giving the child breakfast and say, okay, take this breakfast, then you can go to school. So it's not, but it doesn't answer the big question. The big question there will have been for the child to be able to go to school regularly, daily, and without obstruction. So apart from the confidence building measures, what the dialogue committee is doing is to see how we can come up with something that is more permanent, something that addresses the Ogoni problem permanently. But then we understand that when you have a conflict of this kind and you're making demands, you may not have all of what you are asking for. So the beauty of it is that there is a dialogue, and by the end of the day, there's going to be an understanding, there's going to be an agreement, there's going to be, there will be concessions on all sides, and at that point, we can move forward. It doesn't mean we cannot make demands for subsequently. But it has to be non-violent. It has to be a non-violent advocacy. If you want government to build 100 roads in your community and they agree to build 30 for you immediately, it doesn't mean you cannot advocate that there are still 70 left undone. And government comes by later and say, okay, we can do additional 30, making 60. There are still 40 undone. You continue advocacy to say, look, these roads were 100. You've done 60. You still have 40 to do, and then they may do additional 10. It becomes 70. So over time, we will be able to, and I believe we will be able to address all of the issues. But in the interim, we need to see some substantial commitment from government side. And I think that with what is going on what's going on in this dialogue process, I think that it is a good start.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the same time, the Ogoni National Congress that was held on the 13th of June made very clear that fundamental issues, the environmental degradation, political exclusion, underdevelopment, all must be addressed before any meaningful conclusion on oil resumption can be reached. So are these conditions prerequisites that must be met before the oil flows, or are they negotiating positions that can be discussed simultaneously with the resumption?
To the best of my knowledge, the Ogoni National Congress actually held on the 27th of June.
All right.
The one you're referring to is I'll use the word, I think is something that was just put together by some persons just to drive some personal, some political good.
So MOSOP was not involved with that.
MOSOP was not involved in the Congress of June 13th. Because you see, we unfortunately we've had a situation where some persons are just trying to be unruly. I use that word because when a court says you are not president of MOSOP, you're not leader of MOSOP, and the court has ruled that people like Lebosi Piabara, people like Y. Ogosu, people like Prince should stop parading as president of MOSOP. In fact, the court ruled that Y. Ogosu's so-called election is nullified. The court nullified that. And the court further placed restriction on Piabara and Bira. So I can't even figure out why people like that will still turn around to say they are calling an Ogoni National Congress in the name of MOSOP. They can do it in their personal name. They can do it as individuals, but not in the name of MOSOP. So let me leave that side. MOSOP called a national congress on the 27th of June 2026. And that congress expressed confidence in the ongoing dialogue, coordinated by the Office of the National Security Advisor. And the reason why we had a very robust discussion on it, and the reason why that endorsement did go through is because we try to explain to Ogoni people that, look, whatever has a beginning must also have an end. Here we are, for 33 years, for over 30 years, we've not had an opportunity where we have to present our own demands, and government takes them and listens to us. And government is saying, look, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this in the immediate. And you will find the East-West Road, which has been abandoned for decades, being done. You will find some funding for the there is a proposed how do I describe it? Now, I'm not a medical personnel, but it's like a comprehensive hospital for Ogoni. And there's a university also in place. Those are the kind of things, that's the confidence building measures anyway. But these things were not really done prior to this time. They were always abandoned. But here the East-West Road is going on. That's not the big deal anyway. Road is something government should be able to provide for the
But are you saying that maybe things like that are a good show of faith?
They wouldn't have done it. They never did it before. You see, they are doing it now because they're trying to appease the people.
So are things like that, whether you call them an appeasement or not, are things like that part of the reason why you're saying, okay, let's see what they're doing? Maybe they're serious this time.
That's not the reason why I'm saying let's see what they're doing. That's not. Because I don't see the road work as a big deal. But what I feel is that the fact that they are listening to us, the fact that they allowed us to put our demands forward, to say, these are the things we think you can do to get this thing, and they are discussing with us. The fact that they are considering our position is the reason why MOSOP is saying we should give this a try. We should allow this to work. Because, in a non-violent struggle, let's be realistic. In a non-violent struggle, there is absolutely I don't see a better option to dialogue. I feel that for a non-violent struggle like that of the Ogoni people, the best option to address it is through dialogue. And this is a unique opportunity because this dialogue is bottom up. This dialogue is driven by the people. The people are setting the pace. Ogoni people are setting the pace in this discussion. And, government is making concession because, of course, there are a lot of resources buried under the Ogoni soil. So government has to really make this concession so they can get that money, they can get the resources. But again, we too, as Ogoni people, we are concerned about when these resources are being exploited or explored, whichever way. I feel it has always, I always call it exploitation because I feel it has been exploitation prior to this time. This time around, maybe there will be some kind of mutual, I'm not maybe, this time around, I see mutual benefits. So for me, that issue of mutual benefit is something that interests me because it means that the government will benefit, all parties will benefit. It's going to be win-win for everyone. So the government benefits, the company that puts their resources, their money into drilling equally benefits, and the Ogoni people themselves also benefit. So for me, it's win-win. And what I expect is the dialogue committee is talking. I expect that by the end of the day, the dialogue committee will be able to bring home a good deal for Ogoni people.
So would it be accurate to say that you're a bit more optimistic this time around?
Far more optimistic.
Okay, so it brings us to the question of something that has been a bit of an internal division. You've already mentioned about the court case concerning the other faction that seems to be moving around. That faction has been accusing the federal government of already failing to keep these commitments and all that. Is this faction a problem? Because you've mentioned that there are court cases that have recognized your faction in quotes as the legitimate one. So why are they still parading themselves? And them parading themselves, is it gonna interfere with the process of negotiation that is already going on?
It will not.
Okay.
I tell you the truth, it will not, because you see, there must always be some opposition. That's the beauty of society, especially a pluralistic society like ours. People should be able to air their views, and you cannot expect that everyone will say yes. It is absolutely impossible for a society like ours for everyone to say yes. And I think it's normal for us to have division amongst us. But what is more important is the ultimate Ogoni interest. And the ultimate Ogoni interest is what the majority carries. Whether there are people saying something else or not, they should have a right to say something else as individuals anyway, not as MOSOP, but they should have a right to say something else. And that is something that does not worry me. It actually doesn't bother me because I know they are not in the majority. Yes, I do know they are not in the majority. You see, we must have to understand something that we started. What was our goal? What was the goal of the Ogoni struggle itself? I read the goal of the Ogoni struggle as a protest against underdevelopment. That's my understanding of this Ogoni struggle. It was a protest against underdevelopment, and some of the symptoms of this underdevelopment were the pollution of Ogoni, the absence of infrastructure. Infrastructure, I'm referring to education, healthcare delivery, electricity, roads, and the rest of them. So that was what Ogoni was protesting, that we do not have all of these things. And that protest also reflected the absence of some security for the future of Ogoni. Security for the future of Ogoni, I'm talking about, is that young people are not able to find jobs when they leave school. So they do not have schools in the first place, but even when they manage to go to the poor quality schools, they still are not able to compete because there are no jobs within the Ogoni environment. They have to go outside of the Ogoni environment to look for jobs, and they are seriously disadvantaged because Ogoni is not able to provide them jobs. So the protest was against that, and that means what we should be talking about now is how do we ensure that this future of our young people is actually secured. That security means they leave school and there is a job waiting for them, from especially within the Ogoni environment. That is the kind of thing that I think Ogoni wants, and that is what I think Ogoni. That's my understanding of the Ogoni revolution, the Ogoni struggle. Okay. It was a protest against underdevelopment. And when you talk about development is not sitting down and waiting for government to bring money, and then they have to bring money from Akwa Ibom State, or from the revenue they generate from Akwa Ibom State, or from the revenue they generate from the Kalabari area, or from the Oba Ebema Ndoni area, and things like that. They have to now bring that money into Ogoni. When Ogoni have the resources that can drive development within its own environment. And so what we are talking about now is Ogoni has money. The money is in the soil that me and other Ogonis are working every day. So the discussion that is ongoing is how do we get these resources out, and how do we ensure that the resources benefit the government and also benefit the people. That's where we are now. So it is not something I don't expect it to fail, and I don't see the possibility that it will fail, because the dialogue, the discussion is going on well, and it has gone far. And I expect that, in fact, I was expecting that by today we should have even reached some good understanding. But unfortunately, it's still ongoing. Well, anyway, even if we reach an understanding, discussions will still continue and all of that all of that.
All right, so if you're joining us on Standpoint this morning, of course, I've been having a conversation with the president of the Movement for the Survival of the Ogoni People, MOSOP, Fegalo Nsuke, and we've been talking on the topic Ogoni oil resumption. Can the government be trusted to fully implement any agreement reached? You can be a part of the show at this point. The phone lines are open, and the numbers to call are 0911-2222-907 or 0704-7001-907. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Daddy.
Good morning. This should be Chris. All right, Chris. Welcome to Standpoint. All right, Chris, welcome to Standpoint. Go ahead.
Thank you. In as much as I'm not from Ogoni, but it concerns me because I live in Port Harcourt.
Okay.
The thing is this. Don't you think that the division, is one of the major points that brought up the government not taking care of the Ogonis? This is my point one. And it worries me that the bird that lays the Google egg is not being taken care of. When you put your house in order, there's no division, and you have one voice, and the federal government can look into your matters and take good care of you. Because when you have division, this person is saying A and the other person is saying B, there will be division. And the federal government will make you to divide. They will rule you and they divide you and they will rule you. Put your house in order. And the federal government, they will really know that you really mean what you are saying. And they will come in and take care of you. I'll stand here to say thank you for having me.
All right, thank you very much, Chris, for calling in. So you want to respond to what he said? Is the division among the Ogoni people part of the reason why maybe the government has been stalling on a lot of things over the years?
I don't see anything happening in Ogoni today that is different from what happens elsewhere, that is different from what is happening in every other society. Let me take Nigeria, for example. We have the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And we also have opposition parties. There are some headed by different people. Is that not division? Does it stop Nigeria from existing? Does it stop government from running? No. We have the governor of Rivers State. The House of Assembly wanted to impeach him. Is that not division? We have, in heaven, where you will say you should have had a perfect arrangement, we are told that Satan revolted against God. Is that something? What is division? Division is, I don't know what people call division. That I have a different view from yours. Is that division? I should be able to speak my mind, and if I don't agree with you, I wouldn't agree with you.
Maybe he's also referring to what you mentioned, because you mentioned about the Congress that held on the 13th of June, and the people are going for their own interests. Could things like that also be a hindrance?
These are the things, these are the characteristics of a pluralistic society. It's normal, because you can't imagine that everybody will speak the same language in this world, on this earth. That's division. There are people that speak English, there are people that speak Dutch, there are people that speak Ogoni, division is something God gave to us. We call it division, but it's a natural tendency. Okay, so everyone will not do the same thing. I am Mr. Fegalo Nsuke. You cannot find another Fegalo Nsuke. You will find some other persons. That is a natural gift.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just pause you a little bit and take this call. Hello. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Triumphant from Rivers State.
All right, Triumphant. Go ahead.
It is a complete irony that Ogoni is still in that state, considering what Ogoni has. And people like us who contribute only for development, we are concerned about the state of Ogoni.
Are you from Ogoni land, Triumphant?
So I will not really disclose that right now, because this is not the best time to disclose it. Okay. But we are contributing for national development, irrespective of the axis. Okay, so what I'm saying first and foremost is that if you look at what has been happening in Ogoni, a body or organization like MOSOP is not supposed to have faction, because it is supposed to, house the interest of all Ogonis. But in this case, we have more than one or two factions. That's just that. Also, if you look at, what the other faction of MOSOP is requesting for, now is supposed to be the time that they can drive home that advantage, because election is just around the corner. And if you look critically,
are you talking about the request to have a governor in Rivers State from Ogoni extraction?
Exactly. I am not saying I will support the person or not, but I am just looking at it with an unbiased lenses. Do you understand? So let me just put everything in a short form for you. Now, if you look at the level of poverty in Ogoni, it is something, you are a journalist, you can travel there. There are communities that up to this point, they don't have electricity. They don't have good, drinkable water and all that. So the oil resumption would have been a very good development for that place. But what about a point that you are more, divided than you are united? In fact, this can even increase division in Ogoni. I'm not just saying because I am the IC. It will increase division in Ogoni, and people will capitalize on that. So first thing first, the first thing should be resolved before any other thing is addressed, because I don't think the Ogoni is ready for this right now.
All right. Thank you very much, Ryan Fant, for calling in.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Mr. Nsuke, I think maybe you want to respond to that.
Yes, I'm wondering, I don't know if he's an Ogoni or he's not an Ogoni. He didn't clarify that. But if he's not an Ogoni, I don't know how he understands Ogoni problem better than Ogoni people. As a matter of fact, I don't know what people think. Ogoni makes news every day, and people go on air to say what they wish to say, and it's easy for them to just do that. And so somebody disagrees with you, instead of sorting the thing out with you, he goes on radio. And so it gives the impression that there is so much division from the Ogoni community. That's not true. Absolutely not true. Please, I would like this whole thing to be understood clearly. Please, people should allow Ogoni people to sort themselves out and not stay somewhere and tell people Ogoni is divided. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what Ogoni is doing. You don't know how we are going about a problem to get these things resolved. And you just sit somewhere because somebody came on radio and said something. You just say Ogonis are divided. Please, I would like the general public to allow Ogoni have some peace and not escalate some minimal, comments that an individual just made on radio.
But isn't that part of the problem that he's trying to address? You are the one who knows that there's a faction. But a lot of people who are just the laymen, who are probably not from Ogoni land, are hearing someone on radio saying, I am the president of MOSOP. And they say, okay, this guy represents Ogoni land. So how do they know who's the real one and who's not?
At this point, in fact, I am not really so crazy about whether you call me factional or you don't call me factional. I am president of MOSOP. There's no doubt about that. But at this point, it's not about me now. Mm-hmm. It is about Ogoni and solving Ogoni problem. So whether you call me whatever you want to call me, whether you think of me, whichever you want to think of me, my focus at this time is on making sure that the ongoing dialogue that is coordinated by the Office of National Security succeeds.
All right.
My focus is to make sure I'm able to educate Ogoni people to understand the benefits of what is going on, so that they know that there is light at the beginning of the tunnel, that there is some light in the tunnel right now, and that we have to capitalize on this, we have to take advantage of this and see the best we can make out of this. Because in reality, and to be honest with you, it is one of the best things that will happen, that we are able to solve this problem in this way, that we are part of the discussions, we are part of the decisions that are taken about the future of Ogoni. Mm-hmm. That will be a beautiful way to solve this Ogoni problem.
Okay, let's just take this call quickly. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, presenter. This is Success, one of Fegalo, calling you from Port Harcourt.
All right, Success. Welcome to Standpoint. Go ahead quickly.
I beg, what I want to chip in is that just like what the last caller said. Before Ogoni people will achieve what they want from government, they have to go back and arrange and be in order. They have to settle the peace problem between both of them before they come out on air to say something. This one now come out as the president of MOSOP. Tomorrow they go say another one come out as the president of MOSOP. How do you want government to settle this problem for them? Government will not give them this. Some are looking for governance, some are looking for this, some are looking for that. It will not work until they come in unity. Make them form one thing. Not factions is too much. Okay, let's now go to Oyibo. You go see what Ogoni people's boys are doing there. They go break your house, meet you there with a gun, carry your properties, enter inside bush to go land, go to stay. People are from Ogoni.
How do you know the people who are doing this are from Ogoni?
Yes, we are not, because last time they came, army come and arrest their chief for them to stop the issue. They refuse. Come to people call Omoso in Oribo. They use come pursue them for house. Ogoni people, Ogoni boys, they should settle this issue so that government will come and give them what they want, so they will allow people to rest.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's just take this call before I give you an opportunity to respond. Okay.
Thank you.
It's gone. All right, go. Okay, let's just take this one first, and then you can respond to that. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Daddy Notch. It's me again, Chris.
All right, Chris, you have to be quick this time around.
Yes, your guest, I'm speaking to you directly. Don't you think that I made a point? Because all the previous callers now are following my footsteps. I said that there's division in Ogoniland, and you are repeating that. My brother, we are not happy, because if you tune to other sister stations in Rivers, in Port Harcourt in particular, you hear Ogoni all 3 times. You hear the Ogoni division and the Ogoni this and Ogoni that. Try to resolve the issue. Don't ever underestimate the power of opposition. They can understand certain things that is coming to Ogoniland. We want Ogoniland to be peaceful. We want Ogoniland to be progressing. We want Ogoniland to have what it takes so that there is no division again in Ogoniland. And you are saying there's no division. There's a lot of division there, my brother. Thank you very much. I remain Chris, calling from Odu.
Okay, so I think maybe just respond to what the previous caller said.
Yes.
I think maybe we're overflogging the issue of division.
Yeah, one of the things I'm able to take out from these callers is they are not Ogonis. The other one says is something of Igbo land. And he's speaking about Ogoni. Even in fact, he wants to tell me what happens in Ogoni better than I, who is from Ogoni. I have coordinators in all of the villages of Ogoni. I get reports from every village in Ogoni. If something happens in any village, I have somebody I can call and say what happened here and all of that. So he is speaking like he knows Ogoni better than I do. See, non-Ogonis should give us some space to deal with our problem.
I think to create the better context here, what they are trying to address is the factions in MOSOP.
Let me make, and I've made this point. Okay, they are Igbos. Let's take the Igbo area, for example. We have something called IPOB. The governors are not in alignment with IPOB. That's division. Has it stopped the Igbo people from making progress? I think that people should try to focus on the positives and not on the negatives. How can somebody tell me that there will be no development in Ogoni because one man came on radio and said he is not agreeing to a dialogue process? We are trying to achieve a solution. We are trying to address a problem of over 30 years. And somebody tells me we won't address it. And because of that, some persons are telling me that because somebody is saying we won't address that problem, we should die in it.
So what you're saying is that the divisions that you may have are just natural and they don't prevent anything.
They are natural. Divisions are natural. You cannot, I told you something. I said, even in the house of God, there was revolt. In the house of God, we are told that Satan fought against God. Maybe he said, look, this man, I will remove this man from office and he will become God. That kind of thing. It is a natural thing that happens. So if somebody is saying that there is division in MOSOP, that there is division in Ogoni, there should be division. And that is what makes, that is what freedom of expression actually represents. That you're able to think differently and you're able to speak out your different view about something. If your view makes sense, sometimes there could be some consideration for what you're saying. And that's why a dialogue is going on. If somebody feels something should be done and he doesn't like the way it is being done, you have a right to alert the dialogue committee and say this is what. And they've been having those stakeholder meetings. The last one I attended was they called the leadership of MOSOP, Kagote, and some other groups. And the whole idea was to get their views about what is going on, what the government, their views about the extent to which this dialogue has gone. That is what is supposed to happen naturally. And while we were there, not everybody agreed with what I was saying, and I didn't agree with what every other person was saying. But by the end of the day, we were able to reach some understanding on what is to be done and how it should be done. That is dialogue, and that's what's happening. But you cannot think that, as president of MOSOP, for example, I don't expect everybody that is, say, a kingdom coordinator in MOSOP to agree with my views. And we've had those kind of things.
Okay.
In fact, there are times that they revolt against your own view, and you have to call them and beg them and explain these things to them. And by the end of the day, you have to make some moderation to even your views. That is what it should be. But I mean, that some persons disagree with dialogue and an ongoing dialogue does not mean we shouldn't pursue the cause for development. What we are talking about, like I told you, the entire Ogoni struggle was a revolt against underdevelopment. And so when we are talking about a dialogue to resolve it, we are talking about a dialogue to achieve, to drive development in Ogoni. Some people will revolt against that personally. Some persons will even try to take advantage of it to say, if you don't give us this, you're not going to get that. In other words, you're trying to take advantage of the condition of the Ogoni people to achieve their own goals. People will do several things just because there is an opportunity. You see, it is like taking advantage of your advantages. And in doing so, you can do it for community, you can also do it for personal reasons. These are the things that are going on. By the end of the day, the dialogue committee is going to take all of these inputs and all of this talk together and make a presentation. They've already done a presentation of what Ogoni wants. Now, there is still advocacy that is going on.
Okay.
But anyway, they are still going to reach an understanding and tell government, yes, this is how we can go.
All right. Let's just take this call quickly. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, to you, Daddy Notch.
Good morning, The Real Gift. Welcome to Standpoint.
Thank you. Good morning to you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, just like Mr. Chris highlighted and some other persons, every time I talk about, I'm not from Ogoni, but I'm a neighbor to Ogoni based on the community. I don't think, for me, even in the Bible, it says the house divided against itself cannot stand. Is it not, Daddy Notch?
Yeah.
Now, when you see a lot of groups, and that is where our concern is, I want Ogoni to do better. See, Ogoni is like, ordinarily, if you read and look at the potentials there, to buy the land work, in terms of the for me, I think it's a lot of groups are springing up. This one saying this, that one saying that. It's also affecting their progress.
Okay, so
push
just
to
to
the
be
next level.
Just to be clear, The Real Gift, so that we don't overflog an issue. What your concern is not particularly that each Ogoni man or woman has a different opinion, but there are just so many groups that are saying different things. Is that what you're saying?
They should come together and articulate.
Who is they now? Are you talking about the groups?
Various groups, interest. Right. Okay, let me use for the interest over there.
Okay.
And before I drop, please, don't be offended at the note.
No problem. Go ahead.
Mr. President.
Thank you. I'm listening.
Looking at precedents, we got the government out agreement and then without and have failed. But you not believe that whatever the agreement you go into with the federal government, the federal government will sincerely keep our own side of the bargain, sir. Thank you very much this morning.
All right, thank you very much, The Real Gift. Let's just take this call. Hello, good morning. Hello. All right, do call back if you can, 0911-2222-907 or 0704-7001-907. Okay, so I wanted to ask a question about one of the demands. I don't know whether this is one of the official MOSOP demands about the governor coming from Ogoni. Is that a realistic demand? Because the elections, I don't know whether it's for these elections coming or if it's for future elections for River State governor. But is it a realistic expectation that that has to be met before oil exploration can continue in Ogoni land?
It is a realistic it's a realistic expectation.
Doesn't it feel like it's holding?
I'm coming. Right. It is something that is achievable. Mm-hmm. But that is for River State to decide.
Okay.
Not for Ogoni to decide. It is for River State, because the person we are talking about is going to be governor of River State. Mm-hmm. So it's for River State to decide that they are going to be supporting an Ogoni for governorship. It will be beautiful. That will be very good. But I don't think that should be a fundamental requirement to drive development in Ogoni. When we're talking about oil resumption, listen, We are not saying government should come and drill oil. Our target as Ogoni people is to drive development, and we understand that development is driven by money, and this money is in the soil that Ogoni people are working on daily. Therefore, we need to get this money out of that soil that people are working and negotiate Ogoni interest in that deal. That is the interest of MOSOP. But for politicians, like I said, it is like taking advantage of your advantages. You know, they have an advantage to say, give us governorship and something. These things are things that people do. It's a political strategy. Are you getting it? Not every Ogoni person is going for that. And you know, I like that idea that we should have a governorship. But I mean, we should have a governor from Ogoni extraction or of Ogoni extraction. But I think that is a decision for Rivers State to make. And you know why I don't like talking about this political thing? Honestly, I don't like even when we had the last Congress, I tried to make sure that the political aspect didn't come into discussion, because I found out that within Ogoni, there are multiple political parties. They belong to different political parties. So which one do you support? Which one do you not support? As president of MOSOP, I cannot align with one political party because I have membership that spread across different political parties. That is one. Number two, I'm also seeing that some of those that I call the leading politicians in Ogoni, they tend to be on one side. You know, and I see all of them that are doing politics. I mean, let me be honest with you. I was in Rivers State when all of them, I heard them saying, I will be specific this time, please bear with me. I hope I don't violate your rules. They were saying, Wike leads, we follow. Wike is our leader. Wike was the only leader they had. He leads, we follow. Now Wike has provided leadership. They want me. Am I the one that is going to be fighting? They said they were going to follow the leadership. So for me, they shouldn't call me to come and fight the person they said is their leader. He is their leader. He has provided leadership. They should follow. That is for those who are with him. They shouldn't come behind and tell me I should. No, I'm not going to be doing that. I don't want to get involved. But if an Ogoni wins if Rivers State decides to back an Ogoni, and an Ogoni wins the election, that's a beautiful thing. I mean, I am an Ogoni. I will choose whom I vote for.
Okay.
But as a matter of fact, as an Ogoni, I'm sympathetic to Ogoni cause, but I still have the right to choose whom to vote for. Yes.
So that means you're saying that, okay, look, it's not a bad thing for the Ogoni land to push for, but it's not a realistic, should I say, condition for oil resumption.
It is a realistic condition, but it is not a condition. It is not a condition for Ogoni people to say, without Ogoni producing the governor of Rivers State,
oil resumption.
See, this oil resumption thing you're seeing, we are talking about. Let us not say oil resumption cannot take place. No. We cannot say if an Ogoni does not become governor, then we shouldn't talk about Ogoni development. I want people to understand something. When we're talking about resuming oil production in Ogoni, we are not talking about resuming oil production in Ogoni because we want the federal government to make more revenue. No. Why there is a dialogue committee? That dialogue committee, the primary role of that dialogue committee is to discuss the interest of Ogoni, is to discuss the development of Ogoni. So essentially what we are saying is that we can't discuss development until we have governor. All
right.
I mean, if we are talking about a governor for Ogoni, I believe and I think that is a decision for Rivers State.
All right,
let them leave us in MOSOP alone.
Okay, let's take this call first. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, presenter.
Yeah, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yes. Good morning, my president. My name is Samuel.
Sorry?
My name is Samuel.
All right, Samuel. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I want to speak concerning the other people calling and saying about division in Ogoni land. I want to also let them know there is no division in Ogoni land as they think. But just that where 2 or 3 people are, there must be an argument. And concerning concerning things like politicians, my president should call on the political leaders in Ogoni land and that of Agote, because we have different associations gathering in Ogoni land, like Agote and all that. Let them speak in one voice and agree on one thing, because this is, but they should know that most of facilitate every
bodies in the land, and we speak in one voice with MOSOP. So MOSOP is what MOSOP decide is what we do. That is the Ogoni people. But the politicians in Ogoni, they should also agree.
Now,
speak with us.
All right.
Now you see the difference. This is the first Ogoni caller. You see, his thinking, his orientation is different from the non-Ogonis. This is an Ogoni speaking. He says there is really no division. So the goal of the Ogoni people is to be able to address this problem that has been there for over 30 years. But you see, when the non-Ogoni speak, they say go home and resolve, as if there are no conflicts, as if there are no division where they come from. So they have to go home and resolve. Okay, let's dissolve everything called Nigeria, and then let's go and resolve before we start talking about a Nigeria. That's what they're telling me. It's not possible.
All right, let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you, my dear brother, Daddy Nosh.
All right, good morning, Comrade Coatem. Welcome to Standpoint.
Thank you so much. Special greetings to my brother in the studio.
Thank you very much.
Yes, very quickly, I think in as much as I, Coatem Magnus, believe that the resumption of oil production in Ogoni is the path to development and peace in the region. I think there are some things that should put in place as prescribed directly by the Ogoni people. Some time ago, a town hall meeting was held in various LGAs and resolutions were reached. I asked that time, all these resolutions compiled, was it sent to Mr. President by our big men in Ogoni? And it seems what the people said that time is different from what was carried to Mr. President, and that is causing problem in the community. Now, if you listen to the trajectory of things or what happens within the Ogoni region, you will see that when you go to our various communities, what you'll be hearing is different from what is ringing out on all the radio stations. There seems to be disparity. So I think our leaders should come together, leave politics. When it's time for politics, we will do politics. But it's time for development. We have to fix ourselves together and see a way to develop our region. And that is where my brother is coming from. Now, if you look at the UNED report, there are some things that was, prescribed there. And most of those things has not been followed. We talk about water in Ogoni. I can barely tell you that we have no single water running in Ogoni after many years of this project carried out. In the front of my house, they have dug a very big gutter, and for over months now, they have not closed that gutter. So what is happening? A lot of money in dollars has been spent so far. Yet, so nothing is showed for. So who are you blaming now? Are you blaming the federal government, or are you blaming the Ogoni people? So it boils down to we ourselves leave politics. It is time to develop my area. It is time to develop my community, and put every resources that we're giving to you to make sure your region or your area or your community, your LGA, is developed. When it's time for politics, we will do politics. That is the point. So I think we need to go back home and put ourselves together. Look at the East-West Road from Onne to Eleme Junction. A lot of goats, lot of fowls, lot of yam has been killed and eaten on that road. They have eaten it. Yes, that road is still like that. I'm just of recent that the Minister of Work is trying to way to see he can work on the road, and it's being done partly now. But I think we have grown beyond that. Thank you so much. I'm not responding to that.
All right, thank you very much, Comrade Coatem. I think Comrade is actually he lives in Ogoni land, it seems, because he was talking about some wells of some holes dug and nothing being closed and all that. So I think it kind of creates a bigger perspective here, doesn't it?
So, no, but I hope you're beginning to now see the orientation, the response of Ogoni people and the response of non-Ogonis. The Ogoni people want an end to this conflict. The Ogoni people want a solution. What he's essentially saying, I think, is that whatever is done, because the problem with the high prep thing is implementation, and that implementation boils down to the framework, the structure that is being implemented. I mean, the structure that is implementing. So essentially, the lessons from high prep will be for us to be able to structure this whole thing in a way that benefits the Ogoni people, and not in a way that allows the managers of the system to distort the intentions of the entire system or the entire dialogue, the entire structure, what we've put in place and what we want to achieve. So what he's saying is he speaks as an Ogonian. What he's saying is, look, we need to make this thing work. That's what I understand. Let it not be like that of high prep where they award a contract and these things are not being done. Let's try to make sure that whatever we do works. And I think that was one of the resolutions of last Saturday's Congress, that government should try to abide by whatever agreements that are reached. And I'll tell you something. For you to ensure that government abides by whatever agreements that are reached, it will depend on the structure you put in place, the framework, the implementation process that is put in place, the checks, the controls that you put in place. If you don't put the right controls, you will allow the human beings are naturally like that. They tend to cut corners. So, and that is why there are laws, because if you don't have laws, you see human beings behave like animals. That's the truth. I'm sure you know, we used to hear of cannibalism in those days and all of that. That's a human being. What has curtailed all of that is because there are laws that punish for some of these things. So if you don't put controls in place, then you're going to be allowing things to go wrong. So it is now the duty of the dialogue committee. And of course, I know that the dialogue committee has some very capable, I mean, when you talk about one of the best people, I mean, one of my teachers, my lecturer is the chair of one of my lecturers is the chair of that dialogue committee, and he taught me management, Professor Don Baridam. And I know that I think the way he thinks because he taught me. So when I talk about implementation and getting things done right, it means there has to be the right controls in place. I expect and I have confidence that these things will be done rightly. So I want to assure Ogoni people, please have confidence in this process. Let's give this a try. We have people that we can trust. I'm not saying we trust everyone, because I don't really know everyone that is in that dialogue committee. But I know that it is chaired by somebody I can trust. And I want to assure Ogoni people that by the end of the day, the right thing will be done, because at least I know 1, 2, 3, 4 persons in that dialogue committee that I can trust. I know some of those who have led this Ogoni struggle. I mean, at the most critical moment, especially after the death of Mr. Ken Sarawiwa, I know that one person, the person that took over was Mr. Ledumite, and he is part of that dialogue committee. I do not believe, I don't even want to think, I don't imagine that Mr. Ledumite will be sitting down there and the interest of Ogoni will be shortchanged. I don't see that possibility. I don't expect that. He is an individual anyway, but that is the confidence I have in the process. Seeing people like that in the process, I have that confidence that something good will come for Ogoni. Okay. But I also want Ogoni to understand that it will not be 100%, because this is a conflict and you're talking about a dialogue. It is always a give and take. If you're in a family, and that is another thing that people need to understand. Even in families, you see a brother and a sister quarreling, you see 2 brothers quarreling, you see 2 sisters quarreling. It is the same thing. So Ogoni is just like a family. You can have people quarreling, but what is most important is that quarrel should not degenerate into a crime. All right. You can have your views, and if you're, let's say, 5 in the family and 3 persons are saying yes, let that yes go. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Fegalo Nsuke, the president of MOSOP, for coming through. We are going to keep an eye on the agreement and try and share as much optimism as you have following the process, and we hope it all works out well. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I thank you. I'll call on Ogoni people again. Please, let's give this dialogue a chance. Let's allow it to work so that we can have a better day. We can have a better future for Ogoni. All right. Thank you again for coming through, sir. Thank you. All right. Coming up next on Rapid 90.7 FM is Newslight. Get the latest updates in the world and activities going on around in the world, and of course, right here in Nigeria in just a few minutes by 10 o'clock.
Keep it locked on. Sound of your city.